Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are putting on our protective gear, so to speak, and diving into one of the most demanding and, well, crucial roles in pretty much any industry.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm talking about the labor contractor. Whether you are an employer looking to staff critical projects or you're a professional aiming for a high-stakes management position, this role is really the linchpin of operational success.
It absolutely is. And the stakes are enormous. I mean, not just financially, but you're talking about safety, timeline adherence, legal liability, all of it.
And for our blueprint today, we're using a highly targeted guide from Kaplan.
Right. It's a resource focused specifically on streamlining the interview prep process. What it does really is it distills the chaos of vetting contractors down to 6 core questions.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want to give you a complete shortcut to being well-informed here. We're extracting the exact technical competencies and I think the nuanced behavioral expectations that the best employers are looking for.
Yeah, this isn't just a list of skills.
No. It's a look at the cultural fit and the deep structural knowledge you need to succeed.
Precisely. We're trying to move beyond just the resume and get into the mind of a successful labor contractor because the foundational knowledge these 6 questions test, that's what lays the groundwork for successful employment.
It's a trust, right?
It's about mutual competence and trust. If a candidate can't articulate a framework here, the hiring relationship it's not going to work.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We are focusing on the 6 essential questions that define success in this demanding field.
Right. And when we analyzed the Kaplan material, it was so clear that employers are trying to vet expertise across 3 core non-negotiable areas.
All right.
First, managing diverse teams effectively. Second, overseeing complex projects under a lot of pressure. And third, maybe most importantly, guaranteeing safety compliance and minimizing regulatory risk.
And that framing is invaluable because it tells you exactly how to prepare or, on the other side, how to screen candidates. The interview becomes this systematic filter, really.
It's designed to cut through the noise.
Yeah, and discern the most qualified contractor. The answers to these 6 questions reveal their work ethic, their technical skill, and I think most importantly, their problem-solving framework when things go wrong.
And you have to remember, for the employer, every successful answer is a step toward mitigating future risk, whether that's litigation from an injury, cost overruns from bad scheduling, or just reputational damage from shoddy work.
Let's start with the first set of questions then. These seem to center on the human element and regulatory adherence. Question 1 is the ultimate gatekeeper, isn't it? The classic opener.
The one that separates the veterans from the newcomers.
Can you tell us about your experience in labor contracting?
Right. And this is where the candidate has to establish serious credibility immediately. The source material is remarkably specific about the baseline here.
What does it say?
The ideal response must demonstrate successful management and coordination of laborer teams on various construction projects. But critically, it demands over 5 years of direct experience.
Over 5 years. Now, why that specific number? I see a lot of talented people who hit their stride faster. Is that an arbitrary benchmark, or is there a solid reason for it?
No, it's absolutely not arbitrary. It's a direct response to risk management. Think about the complexity of the roles you're managing.
Right.
You've got electrical teams, HVAC specialists, heavy equipment operators, finishers.
All at once.
Exactly. 5 years is generally seen as the minimum time required for a contractor to have managed multiple full project cycles. That includes the startup phase, the mid-project crisis points that always happen, the inevitable delays, and the final closeout and punch list. And not just on one type of project, but across several diverse projects.
So it's not just time served. It's proof they've seen the full range of potential failures and successes.
That's it. They also have to show deep familiarity with industry best practices, with regulations, and prove they can communicate and collaborate, not just with their crew, but upstream with clients and architects.
Okay, so collaboration is the foundation, but procedure is the steel frame.
A good way to put it. And that leads us directly to the trickiest part of people management. Question 2. How do you handle difficult or non-compliant employees?
I can see this one tripping people up.
Yeah.
The key takeaway here from what I read is emphasizing immediate, professional, and really detailed procedural action. You need a system.
It's all about the documentation. It has to be.
Yeah.
You must start by clearly communicating expectations from day one, not when a problem comes up. Then you provide training and support.
Okay.
But the moment behavior veers into noncompliance, you have to begin formally documenting any and all issues thoroughly. This is not about punishment right away. This is about building a documented history.
And if the behavior persists, that's when you escalate to the employee's supervisor or move on with disciplinary action. I want to push back on that documentation requirement just a little, though.
Okay.
For a busy contractor juggling 10 things at once, pulling out forms to document every small infraction seems, well, overly administrative.
Yeah.
Why is that step so fiercely critical?
Because that documentation is the company's shield. It's that simple. In the high-stakes world of contracting, if you need to terminate someone for persistent noncompliance, especially if it relates to safety or quality, you absolutely must have an auditable paper trail.
Otherwise, you're exposed.
Completely. Without thorough documentation, the employer is exposed to potential wrongful termination claims. The contractor's procedural adherence protects the entire organization legally and financially. It's an insurance policy written in triplicate.
That definitely puts the administrative load in perspective. Okay, let's move to question 3, the highest stakes area of all. How do you ensure safety on job sites?
And here, safety is not a suggestion. It is the non-negotiable legal and moral requirement. What's fascinating in the guide is the specific commitment to compliance the answer requires.
Yeah, it isn't enough to just say, I enforce safety. You have to be specific. Compliance with OSHA regulations and industry safety standards is the absolute minimum. That means regular safety meetings, scheduled site inspections, and, crucially, making sure all necessary safety training is provided and documented.
And then comes the hammer. The requirement for enforcing a zero-tolerance policy for unsafe behavior.
Taking immediate action to correct any hazards.
Yes. Zero tolerance is the baseline because the consequences of even one accident they're catastrophic.
I have to ask about that phrase, zero tolerance. It's a very strong phrase, especially with how competitive the labor market is. Does the guide talk about that tension between enforcing such a strict policy and trying to retain skilled people who might just expect a verbal warning first?
That is the ultimate management challenge, isn't it? The source implies that while retention is important, the potential liability of a major injury or a death caused by negligence is just too great a risk to take.
So it's a calculated decision.
It is. A zero-tolerance policy signals a corporate culture where safety violations are seen not as mistakes, but as direct breaches of contract. The cost of one serious OSHA fine or a personal injury lawsuit, not to mention the project slowdowns from an investigation, it far outweighs the cost of replacing one non-compliant employee.
So the successful candidate has to show they prioritize safety correction over everything else.
Over all other concerns, including short-term morale, yes.
Wow, okay. So those first 3 questions give us a really clear view of the candidate's history, their management style, and their absolute commitment to operating within strict legal and safe parameters. They establish the contractor's ability to lead people.
Exactly. And now we transition from leading people to leading the project itself.
Here's where it gets really interesting, shifting gears now to project execution and logistical mastery. Question number 4 is, how do you ensure quality control on job sites?
This is where we stop testing how they handle people and start testing their ability to deliver the contracted product exactly as promised.
As it's written in the blueprints.
Precisely. The required methodology involves ensuring all work is done strictly in accordance with project plans and specifications.
So this means having defined processes. What are the key processes that have to be in the contractor's answer?
First, scheduled, regular quality control inspections. And that means proactively, not just when the client asks. Second, having a defined process for immediately identifying and formally addressing any issues that deviate from the specs.
And the third?
Perhaps most importantly, ensuring all employees truly understand their specific roles and responsibilities in maintaining quality. Quality ownership can't just sit with the contractor. It has to be distributed across every single person on site.
I would imagine the financial implications of poor quality control are just huge. You're talking rework costs, warranty claims, reputational damage.
Oh, absolutely. Rework costs are a silent killer of profit margins. A successful contractor has to detail how they integrate QC into the flow of work, not treat it like an afterthought. They need systems that prevent a wall from being built before the electrical work is properly inspected, for example.
It's about layering accountability.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, moving on to question 5. How do you handle changes or delays on a project? This feels like it tests adaptability and, maybe more critically, transparent stakeholder management.
This is where the proactive approach is really proven. A reactive contractor just throws up their hands and blames the weather.
Right.
A successful contractor demonstrates an ability to anticipate, mitigate, and communicate. The answer shows they understand that a change doesn't just impact the schedule, it hits the budget, the legal obligations, and of course the patience of the client.
So a great contractor has a defined communication and mitigation plan ready to go. What are the key steps in that plan?
First, immediate and effective communication with all stakeholders, clients, management, the supply chain. You have to manage expectations instantly. Second, you move immediately to replanning and rescheduling as necessary.
But not just that.
No, you have to take proactive measures to minimize the overall impact. That could mean working with suppliers to expedite materials or resequencing tasks to keep other crews busy.
And closing that communication loop is essential, right? You can't just send one email and be done.
Correct. You have to keep all team members informed and involved in that revised process. Everyone has to be rowing in the new direction. The goal here is to show competence in managing the complex contract process, including the paperwork of change orders and time extensions, ensuring the company gets paid fairly for the extra work.
Finally, we get to question 6, which addresses the logistical lifeline of any construction site. How do you manage and maintain equipment?
And this ties right back into both safety and cost control. The logistical requirements are straightforward, but absolutely crucial. The contractor must ensure all equipment is properly maintained and serviced. Preventative maintenance is key here.
Not just fixing it when it breaks.
Exactly. And that regular inspections are conducted and, importantly, documented.
Because downtime due to equipment failure is enormously costly. It idles labor crews, which is often the most expensive part of the project.
Precisely. And the answer must also address the safety side. It requires assurance that all equipment is used safely, that employees are properly trained on its UseThink certifications, licenses, and that they maintain accurate records of every single piece of equipment, maintenance, and repair.
There's that theme again. Documentation, compliance, procedural rigor. Those records are proof of operational excellence and a shield against liability if an older piece of equipment is involved in an incident.
It creates a fully auditable ecosystem. Safe practice is validated by training is validated by documentation, and documentation is validated by inspections. It all links together.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? If we synthesize the expectations from these 6 questions, we see a clear 3-part profile of a successful labor contractor. First, they are masters of strict regulatory compliance, specifically OSHA. Second, they are relentless proponents of proactive documentation for everything from non-compliant employees to equipment logs. And third, they have fluid, consistent communication skills, especially with clients and stakeholders during periods of risk, like project delays.
And it's that required depth of organization that makes external resources so necessary. The broader context of the Kaplan source material alludes to some specific tools for candidates. For example, there's an interview coach that helps candidates structure these high-level responses.
And the offer analyzer, which I found interesting.
Yeah, that helps secure the deserved compensation.
Which is particularly useful because labor contracting pay varies so widely by region and by specialization. The offer analyzer helps candidates evaluate their final compensation packages against current market rates, so they're not leaving money on the table.
And that market data is robust. It's compiled from authoritative sources like the U.S. Department of Labor, combined with proprietary searches of thousands of specific company job postings. It gives you a really solid idea of your market value, so you can negotiate from a position of power.
This entire deep dive really gives you the specific knowledge to empower and shape your professional future, whether you're sitting on the hiring side or the receiving side of that interview table.
And it raises an important question, I think, for anyone seriously pursuing or hiring for this level of role. If these 6 areas, from managing zero-tolerance safety policies to having 5 years of diverse project experience, if these are the absolute minimum standard, how might a candidate prepare a portfolio or a structured narrative that explicitly demonstrates continuous, documented success in each of those areas?
That's a good point.
Because proving basic competence is one thing. But proving 5 years of sustained strategic excellence across all 6 of those pillars, well, that's what truly separates the top tier from everyone else. And that is the challenge you now need to address.